Okay. Hi, new update. Okay. I brought out my Sargent Art watercolor crayons. And I've got violet, and then crimson lake. Okay, this was a lot of trial and error, depending on how much water you use. So what I did is I kind of rearranged the color. So when you look at it, hopefully you can see it. There's definitely a lot of crinkling that went through a little bit. Not much, but it's not bad. So my approach on this was to finish off with the violet and then go through the different areas and just show what I did and how I did it to get a certain effect. And to lay it flat, I used a heavy book. So in the meantime, you can kind of go. If you want more color situated, I use my water pen, and then you can kind of squeeze out a drop of water and then kind of smoosh it around with just the water, just to begin with, and then dab it off. And then what I found works a lot easier is when you go on its side. You can see how pigmented that really is and how much you want to do. So I'm gonna go and show. Sorry, it's spastic on these things. You can see how that looks here. Okay. So I'm just gonna start on the bottom. And that's where I was on this. You're gonna see how pigmented that really is. So you wanna rectify that just with a paper towel. Just kind of dab it off a bit. And you can always go over it with water. The issue I have is using too much water. And then you end up with a streaky mess. But you can go over that pretty easily, depending on the effect you want. Probably wasn't the best idea, but I figured it needed a background. Kind of like a fantasy. There, you can tell there's so much water in there. You almost have to have that though, because what it's gonna do, it's gonna end up pooling on you, and you get a big mess. And you just have to keep adding color to it. So you kind of use it like a stipple brush. And then you can wait for it to dry and put another layer on it. And then watch out for the bubbles. Ugh, I had so many bubbles in my pen. And not a good thing. I think there might, I don't know how other people do this. I tried watching some videos, and it's interesting that we all have our own techniques and how we do things, you know, and I wonder, like, a different size brush might work better. So, I don't know. It's interesting. So I kind of work in sections too, so you can kind of see how that area looks with that. So my goal was to finish and do the sides over here and then over there on that side. So in the meantime, what I did do is I used the lighter color, which was the Crimson Lake, and I put it over, I dabbed it over with a layer with this brush. You can go like that, okay, and it just adds a little bit to it, you know, like just around the corner or the edges, that kind of thing, and just, you know, do it that way if you like doing stuff like that. So, not sure how long this is gonna be. I have a little bit of a sore throat today. So I'm just kind of going inside some of the nooks and crannies and kind of fan it out. And you can see how much water is on there instead of color. It just, I don't know. People like the way that looks. It's hard to tell. But I guess the whole idea is what you like and what you want to show. And hopefully other people will like what you're doing. So you can just kind of go through and you just kind of push the color and the water together. And then with these little areas, you just kind of go and keep pushing a little bit. I think that's the fun part about using watercolors, whether it's a crayon or a pencil. You get some very interesting texture, but you also get different outcomes and how you use it, like, you know, like a watercolor wash. I would not attempt that in a coloring book because I think that would be kind of ruining the paper if it's not a good paper to begin with. So I'll just kind of get it in between here. I'm not sure if I want to show this whole process because I am kind of celebrating tonight for the New Year's, and I hope everyone else who does watch this has a wonderful New Year's Eve. You know, play it safe or not. I might have to add a little bit more water to these, but and you just keep kind of going out and then fan that out a little bit more. Oh, I don't know. I started going through my YouTube channel settings, and I'm really not familiar, so I did familiarize myself. And I think I got a new subscriber. If I did, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Let's see here. So you can see how that looks in those areas. Now you can see how it dries lighter. So if you want to add another layer, you're going to add new dimension to it. And if you want to do that, you don't have to wait for it to dry. You just take your thing and kind of go just right around the edge of your object. In this case, the edge of the tree with the limb. And then you can kind of go, you can eyeball it, that kind of thing. So, and then just kind of finish what you're doing here. So I'm just going to continue and make my videos. You can see how that dries. Apologize if I repeat myself a lot. I get episodes of my ADD, and it's not fun. So I've had someone say, "What's wrong with you?" or whatever. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with me. I just, approach things differently, do things differently. And kind of be in the moment. But this really helps, though, with my concentration and the challenge of doing something. I mean, not just for yourself. I mean, to know that you can do something, but just how far do you want to do something? And I think that's a trick. We tell you how tired you are. Like in my case, you get the fibro flare-ups, and the winter's been brutal, so I don't know how other people are dealing with it. And it's horrible. It gets very cold, your arthritis kicks in, and it's really yucky. So I'm just gonna go. I find sometimes the in-betweens, really small areas, are a lot easier to do than the big areas. So interesting. And then you can just kind of go, I don't know, remember, this is doing this for fun. No one's judging you or critiquing you. And just have fun with this, Just, because, there's this old quote, we are our worst critics, our own critics, and yeah. You wonder where that comes from. This might be too long of a video if I continue like this, but to give you a head start on how I do things. I did not put any paper down because I wasn't doing that corner yet. So, and you just can kind of go through and get all these lines going here. I think the more you do it, you practice to see what technique you like, what look that you like, that kind of thing. So I have some more color. You can just kind of go. On that. And be careful not to use too much water. I mean, if you do, you can kind of fan out your brush like what I just did. Yeah, that'll help. For me, it helps because I start to get numb in my fingers, and you gotta take a break when that happens. So, see, in my case, I have a boutonniere on my middle finger, you know, and I've had that for quite some time. So it makes it difficult to color, but I do it anyway. And you can see how that is. It gets painful. So, and like it's starting to numb up a little bit. So, I'm gonna stop for now, and maybe if I can finish it, okay, I will post another video. Okay, thank you so much for watching. And I'll show you how it looks on the top, and then on the bottom there with that. Okay.